The year was 1979. The Soviet Union had invaded Afghanistan, starting the Soviet-Afghan War. Sony released the Walkman as a portable cassette player. The #1 song on the top 40 charts was My Sharona by the Knack. The 3 Mile nuclear plant meltdown kept the world in suspense for days, and the Montreal Canadiens defeated the New York Rangers to capture their 4th consecutive Stanley Cup championship. On the campus of the University of Western Ontario, the Mustang football training camp opened in August. 25 practices were scheduled over 10 days, culminating in Rookie Night and the Purple and White game. In what was billed as a rebuilding season for the Mustangs, a new 52 defense would be unveiled by coach Darwin Samodiuk, and a balanced offense led by veteran quarterback Paul Ford, who was finally getting his chance to start at the helm of the Mustangs. With such a young, inexperienced team, Coach Samodiuk looked to the team's elder statesmen to provide leadership. On offense, guard Peter Kellenberger and Paul Ford, and on the defense, tackle Ron McNamara, linebacker Kevin Ford, and the team captain Chris Curran in the secondary. The team's strength was rooted in its talented stable of running backs: Al Quinn, Ryan Potter, Neville Edwards, Mike Kirkley, and Greg Marshall. In the season opener against the York Yeomen, the Mustangs relied on their defense, who called themselves the Stampede, led by lineman Tank McNamara, who was instrumental in securing a 16-9 victory. Quarterback Paul Ford, who was also the place kicker, accounted for 3 field goals in the victory. In a bizarre twist, the game was declared a no contest by a judicial committee of the OUAA. It was ruled that both teams had played ineligible players and that the 2 universities would play 6 regular season games instead of 7. The Mustangs moved on to the Laurier Golden Hawks, considered by many as the team to beat in the OUAA West. The Mustangs statistically dominated the Golden Hawks in everything but the final score. Coach Samodiuk said, "On the basis of the statistics, I am impressed, but these penalties are errors of the inexperienced, and we can correct them." The final score showed Laurier 28, the Mustangs 19. Starting the season with a no contest and a loss, it meant the Mustangs would be competing with 1 less game over the balance of the schedule than the rest of their competition. Quarterback Paul Ford said the players know they have to win because every game is a must-win. The playoffs are starting for us now. Next up was Waterloo, where the Western Mustangs played their best game of the season. Ford completed 18 of 25 passes for 333 yards and 2 touchdowns. Rookie receiver Dan Domenico hauled in 5 passes for 157 yards, and Al Quinn rushed for 120 yards as the offense had over 500 yards of total offense, and the defense made one outstanding play after another in a decisive 26-3 win over the Warriors. On the road against the Toronto Varsity Blues, a blend of hard running and fine passing gave the Mustangs an early 17-0 lead. By the third quarter, the Blues had taken advantage of Mustang fumbles, interceptions, and penalties, and had stormed back to go ahead 19-17. A 3rd and inches situation at their own 13-yard line, the Blues surprised everyone in the stadium, deciding to go for it deep in their own end. Mustang nose tackle David Pearson literally stopped the U of T running back in midair, and the Mustangs immediately took advantage of the turnover on downs, taking a 24-19 lead. From that point on, the Mustangs physically dominated the Blues in the trenches and went on to a 37-19 victory and improved their record to 2-1 with the discounted game. Against the McMaster Marauders, the Mustang offense pulled a Jekyll and Hyde act in their 28-2 victory. Led by quarterback Paul Ford's awesome aerial display, Ford completed 6 of 8 passes for 328 yards and held a 28-0 halftime lead. However, in the second half, Ford was on the bench with a rib injury, and the rain made the field conditions treacherous. The Mustangs' defense had to hold a never-say-die max squad on 3 different scoring threats to preserve the victory. Running back Mike Kirkley would rush for 103 yards, and receiver Dave McCann would haul in 111 yards in the air. Up against the Windsor Lancers, the Mustang defense intercepted the Lancer Heck Crichton-winning quarterback 3 times, and the Mustang offense rolled up 420 yards of offense. Darwin Samodiuk said, "This was our best game of the year. I was particularly pleased with the poise the team exhibited. They were very much in control." The Stang running backs combined for 223 yards on the ground, led by tailback Mike Kirkley, who gained 96 yards, as the Mustangs rode to an easy 28-3 victory. 10,000 fans packed J.W. Little Stadium for the homecoming game against the Guelph Griffins. Western running back Mike Kirkley was the leading rusher in the game, with 121 yards, carrying for more yardage than the entire Griffin team. The Western defense played brilliantly as usual. Linebacker Kevin Ford was in command, changing formations and calling blitzes, keeping the Griffin offense off balance. Holding on to a 15-10 lead, the Western defense made a goal line stand as the Mustangs preserved a 15-12 victory and secured a second-place finish in the division. Matched up against Toronto in the division playoff semifinals, the Mustangs found themselves down 15-1 at halftime, with Toronto playing a wishbone offense for the first time all year. Western made adjustments at halftime and produced one of the most exciting comebacks in Western's long gridiron history. The defense regrouped and intercepted the Blues 3 times, led by defensive back Chris Marcus, who grabbed 2 picks. Ryan Potter played tailback in place of injured Mike Kirkley and had 19 carries in the second half alone and rushed for 155 yards. Western quarterback Paul Ford had a sensational second half, going 12 of 14. His primary target was Tom Arnott, who hauled in 8 catches for 124 yards and scored 3 second-half touchdowns as Western roared back with 27 unanswered second-half points to come up with a thrilling 28-15 triumph. Traveling to Waterloo to play Laurier in the West Division Championship of the Ontario-Quebec Intercollegiate Football Conference, the Mustangs were looking to gain a measure of revenge for the regular season defeat. The emotionally charged Mustangs destroyed the once mighty Hawks with a devastating ground and aerial attack in the opening half of the game. The Mustangs simply played knock-'em-down, run-'em-over football. The Mustang offensive line dominated the Hawks in the trenches as the Mustangs scored 4 first-half rushing touchdowns, 2 by Ryan Potter and tallies by Mike Kirkley, and bruising fullback Greg Marshall put the Mustangs up 28-0 at the half. This would be all the scoring they would need on their way to capturing the West Division Championship in a devastating 28-12 victory over the Hawks. Before a boisterous crowd of 9,000 fans, the Mustangs renewed their rivalry with Queens in the national semifinal game, which would also act as the Yates Cup championship game. Playing without team captain Chris Curran due to a knee injury, the Mustangs relied on their run game and racked up 281 yards on the ground. Following the blocks of center Bill Howard and guard Jeff Arp, speedster Ryan Potter rambled for 177 yards. The defense, led by OUA Metris Award winner Ian Ward and lineman Murray Watson, shut down the Golden Gales run game. With just a minute and a half left in the game, Queens closed the lead to 11 points. With 20 seconds remaining, fullback Greg Marshall thundered 46 yards down the sideline for the final touchdown that led to an outpouring of students onto the field, ravaging the goalposts and forcing the game to be called early as the Mustangs had an insurmountable 32-14 lead. The victory meant Western had qualified for its 5th College Bowl appearance in the decade of the 70s alone. Playing the Acadia Axemen in the College Bowl Championship for the 3rd time that decade with the right to lift the Vanier Cup on the line, the Mustangs took an early 8-0 lead as a result of a Greg Marshall 18-yard touchdown ramble. Unfortunately, the Mustangs struggled to contain the Axemen passing attack and went down to defeat 34-12. A season that head coach Darwin Samodiuk called a rebuilding year, the Mustangs would defy the odds and win a division title, capture a Yates Cup, and make the program's fifth appearance in the College Bowl. Gazette reporter George King said of the 1979 team and its head coach Samodiuk, "The Mustangs are an extension of his coaching personality, one that accentuates development as a person and not just a ball player. The emotion that man stirs up in the team is indescribable. His team speaks for him when they take the field." The 1979 Western Mustang football team. Mustang legends.